If we look at the end of this reading, we see this. Kant says, we have thus established at least this much, that if duty is a conception which is to have any import and real legislative authority for our actions, it can only be expressed in categorical and not at all in hypothetical imperatives. Just think about that. I mean, to read that or to understand what he's getting at, we have to be clear about the language here. Imperatives, that's a grammatical thing, right? In the study of languages, the imperative is a mood. It's a sense in which words are taken. And the imperative mood is the mood of command. So in languages that have this sort of thing, go to bed, your mother says when you're a kid, and that's in the imperative mood because it's an order or command. So that's the imperative part. Right? An imperative is an order or command. Do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. And then there's the hypothetical and categorical part. What's the difference between a hypothetical imperative and a categorical one? Well, the hypothetical always has an if, a condition. So a hypothetical command be something like if you want this, then do that. Like a typical, I don't know, hypothetical command would be save your money if you want to have anything in your old age. Don't mean to scare you. I'm more scared of it. Save your money if you want to have anything in your old age. So if you don't care about your old age, then there's no reason to follow the imperative. Your mother says, eat your vegetables. And, you know, she may say, if you want to grow up to be big and strong, eat your vegetables. Well, then you're a little kid and you say, I don't care about growing up big and strong. Well, then your mother's kind of, you know, you find out that it's a categorical imperative and not a hypothetical one. But, she, you know, if she's being logical, she'd say, well, then I guess you don't have to eat your vegetables because I said, you know, if you want to grow up to be big and strong, then eat your vegetables. If you don't want to grow up big and strong, I guess there's no reason to eat your vegetables. So a hypothetical imperative is a conditional imperative. Do this if you want that. And if you don't want that, there's no reason to do this. A categorical imperative is categorical in the sense that it is just saying, just do this or just don't do that. There's no condition. A categorical imperative is a command or a rule that has no conditions. And what that means is that it would have to be obeyed in all circumstances. And that really that's where duty comes into it. The kind of moral duty that Kant is talking about is the kind of moral duty that would go along with a truly categorical imperative. And we've actually gotten one of them already, which is act so that the maximum rule of your action could serve as universal law. In the next reading, I think it's the next reading, we'll get the second one, which is always treat persons as ends, never as means. These are what Kant believes to be rules which are given by pure reason and just sort of baked into the very idea of moral conduct. So they are categorical imperatives. It may be that almost every other moral imperative would have exceptions. I mean, if we look at the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not kill, human beings have usually interpreted that as having exceptions. Killing in self-defense, killing in war, and in some societies, the death penalty. Whereas a categorical imperative would be one where there's no conceivable instance in which disobeying it could be justified. And that Kant has chosen his categorical imperatives just for that reason. So when we look at the end of the reading, and I want to double back a little bit, he is basically saying that the validity of the categorical imperative is the foundation of morality itself. That is, if there are no such imperatives, if all imperatives are hypothetical, and it's clear that to some moral philosophers, they would say, yes, all imperatives are conditional, hypothetical, but for Kant, that would mean there's no morality. They would just rip out the very soul of morality, because then there would be no duty. Everything would be relative to one's condition, and perhaps we could say that happiness or pleasure or enjoyment is the only thing that determines value. You should do what makes you feel good, and perhaps what makes others feel good, if that's something that you're interested in. But there would be no duties. So for Kant, there's got to be a categorical imperative. There's got to be a rule or a set of rules that apply to all rational creatures at all time, and that they have a duty that basically tells them what their duty is. And he does give that to us. We have a duty to be consistent. Our actions should be universalizable. And as we'll find out in the next reading, we have a duty never to disrespect another person, never to use them as a means, but always treat them as an end in themselves.